On this first installment of Trade or Keep, Wally and I take a detailed look at some of the everyday perspectives of owning sibling vehicles, a 2019 VW GLI and a 2017 Volkswagen GTI. This was a collaboration between the two of us back in September of 2020. As you may see in future installments, some things have changed since we first shot this, but stay tuned to check out our final decisions on whether or not we trade or keep our VWs.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Marcus. You can follow me on Instagram at ShiftStarterATL.
And I'm Wally. You can follow me on Instagram at Cams360.
And this is Trade or Keep. All right, so Wally, where did the idea of Trade or Keep come from?
So Trade or Keep is really the discussion or conversation that I have with myself every 3 years when I'm trying to figure out what car do I want next. So as I've expressed on my channel, a lot of times I love sporty Volkswagens. So I've had a GTI for a good 3 years now. So it's just really the discussion now is, do I want another one? Do I want to keep the one that I have?
Absolutely.
Or do I want to get a GLI? Or do I want to do something completely different?
Gotcha. So this was almost like the perfect idea of us coming together because I have the 2019 GLI. You have the 2017, and so
exactly.
I guess the idea is for us to more so see, is it time for us to turn our vehicles in, or will we keep what we have based on the features and the things that we like about our own cars, or the Volkswagens that we have already?
Exactly. So it really brings that additional perspective into the automotive realm. People that are considering broke cars, or they may not even know about what a GLI is or what a GTI is. So it really brings our thought process to the forefront. So
absolutely. So what we ended up doing today was reviewing one another's vehicles. Wally has the 2017 GTI. I have a 2019 GLI. We talked about the interior. We actually did a few test shots, and we did a bit of a test drive to see just the different characteristics that our vehicles have, being that they're both Volkswagens. They have the same engine and they're on the same MQB platform. And we really wanted to see if there's a big difference aside from the looks and the styling and the size and the drive of the cars.
Exactly. So it really brings everything holistic together as far as, us, our love for vehicles and our love for our cars. But, there's also two different perspectives when you look at the style of the vehicles as well as the driving dynamics of the vehicles, even though they have that shared family lineage. So it's really interesting, to see what the differences are. So.
Definitely.
All right, so first we have to get ourselves together because this is not a manual.
Yeah,
I was trying to push a clutch in.
Right.
But we are in the 2017 Volkswagen GTI, which stands for Grand Touring Injection, whereas the GLI stands for Grand Luxury Injection.
All right.
So we're about to see the differences between the two. Let's get our mirrors together. And we are utilizing the DSG, whereas mine has the 6-speed manual transmission. Let's go. So the first points of reference are the seats. Originally, I wanted a GTI, but the price point was a bit out of my range for the exact make and model that I wanted. But the biggest piece that I miss in my GLI, even though it fits me more as being 6'4", are the seats. Wally's GTI has the tartan pattern seats, which is traditional to the GTI brand, and mine just have the standard leather. Now his, as I kind of joked with him earlier, are not cooled, but they are they're more bolstered and they hold you in a lot more than mine do. I kind of slide around in my car a little bit, whereas these hold you a lot tighter. One thing I also noticed about Wally's cars as we were going to our different locations today is that his has a much throatier and louder sound than my car. It is, sitting in here in a little traffic, not too worried about, stalling, as you have to kind of be mindful of that when you drive the manual transmission. But one thing I can say, Volkswagens and just the VAG brand are known for their dual clutch transmissions, and I have not heard many people complain about the experience with those. So we'll check out the differences. But one thing that I can say about the interior, this is about 3 years older. The biggest piece that I miss and would not be a selling point for the GTI are the gauges. So all GTIs, as we mentioned in the other clip, feature the traditional analog gauges, with the exception of the Golf R, which I don't think really qualifies as a GTI. This model has, I want to say this is maybe the 6-inch infotainment screen. Is it touch?
It's touch. It has the Apple CarPlay as well, so that's a good thing. So yeah, it's just smaller and less features here and there, but.
So speaking of less features, as noted in the current GLI, you do have ventilated seats, whereas the GTI only has heated seats here, and the dials for the air conditioning system are a little different than mine. But the biggest piece that we noted in the GLI versus the GTI are the vents. In my car, this is angled towards the driver, whereas this is more of a traditional setup, just as noted with the gauges. Now the steering wheels are pretty much the same. We got the flat bottom. His has GTI on the bottom of the steering wheel, whereas mine says GTI. The door panels are similar, with the exception, I'm not a big fan of how the mirror adjustments are actually parallel or against the doors, whereas mine are kind of down.
Oh, it's by the
window adjustments. But speaking of materials, we have the same kind of soft touch molding up here across the top.
I feel like this is a little bit softer though.
Perhaps, but what I will say about this, one of the bigger differences. So another big difference is you have a standard handbrake, which is not available in, I don't think, any of the Jetta models at all anymore. You have the electronic brake, which I don't mind myself.
I don't like the electronic handbrake, especially on a manual, but that's just me. But even though I don't think I use it that much, other than when it's necessary on a hill or something. But
right, so we're about to hit the highway in a second, but a few other things that I want to mention that I'll play around with, even though I've never been a big fan of these, are the paddle shifters. So you can kind of hear it, revving down a little bit. It's a total different experience to those. We're in second gear currently. Hear that verb? Yeah, definitely, for sure. Already up to speed. Did it nice and stable. I will say it's not as and not a knock against it. This is a slightly smaller car in dimensions than the GLI, so the ride quality is not as smooth. I can hear a lot more of the road than I could in the GLI, but we're sitting in 6th gear, and yeah, we're cruising. So the small things matter to me. My interior is very plasticky on the inside, more so than the GTI. And one of the standout points is just the cup holders that are in the door. So the GTI's cup holders are lined with felt, whereas mine are just plastic. So any type of bottle, any material, I've even heard paper rattle around in mine, that is mitigated by the felt that is lined inside of the cup holders of the GTI. Also, I believe the inside of the console has a different material as well than mine. I'm noticing on the armrest, my armrest is made of leather, whereas this material is made of this cloth material, which is similar to what's actually on the seats.
Yeah, but do you feel a difference in the acceleration? I don't.
No, I don't. I feel like that, and mind you, we haven't gotten to the mechanics of things just yet. They both have the same exact engines, the same output, so power-wise they feel the same, but what is the difference is the auditory component. Is the GTI you hear is a lot louder, not just like road noise, but the engine sound that could be filtered in.
I think it's like you feel like there's more power because it has a racier feel, but you're probably not going any faster.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that's what it is,
And I think part of it is also kind of the sound of the size of the vehicles. My car is slightly larger. I think they're maybe 100 to a couple of 100 pounds difference weight-wise. So you definitely feel the difference in size. And I used to own a 2012 just a standard base level Mini Cooper that I kind of had spec'd out how I wanted it, and that car was like driving a go-kart every single day, even though I think it had 115 horsepower. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't driving a rocket until you put your foot down all the way on the gas and it didn't go anywhere.
Right.
The GTI reminds me of that tossability.
Yeah.
Able to kind of just go around the corner.
It's very tossable.
And even like right now, kind of going on this arm ramp, these seats are holding me in a lot more than they would in my car. I would be sliding around in my car.
Yeah. So it's like, I think they kept those, core elements of both cars, because you still have that luxury element of that GLI that, you know, that's why it's a little bit softer, you know, around the corners. You know, you're not getting that racy feel. So I think they've really honed into the character of the two cars, and now it's not based on just being cheap, you know, because the last generation GLI or Jetta in general was on, you know, an older chassis, you know, compared to where the Golf was and the GTI. But now it's just like more of an equal playing field, but now they can just sit in their distinct characters, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, they definitely level the playing field with them both riding on the MQB platform, having the same exact engine. I actually think that Volkswagen did a very good job with distinguishing them amongst their features. Although my car is technically cheaper than, I think, as I have the top of the line GLI as it being an Autobahn, it's still cheaper than an equally equipped GTI that will still be missing a few of those features that my car has. And so I can appreciate that. So there are definitely some cost-cutting points, such as the plasticky interior. You know, I've heard a debate on whether if you had the upgraded sound system in here for the GTI, that the Fender sounds better than the Beats audio system that's in the GLI. But I think a lot of that is, you know, your settings. I think a lot of that is subjective to the person's preference who owns that vehicle. If I could kind of cherry pick a la carte style different things to make the best car for me, I would probably take these seats and put them into the GLI. That's the only thing that I, you know, just the extra bolster. I actually love that my seats are leather. I love the ventilation. But they could be tartan, they could have this pattern, and they could have the extra bolstering because it's, you know, it adds a bit of sporting flair to it. But everything else about my GLI, I honestly think that I would keep my car with these seats. Well, I will say this, you sort of described my driving style perfectly, or even why I was fine with getting that car. My thing is, I guess, stealth and kind of the underdog almost. And like even my vanity plate, my tag says oxymoron. I kind of am a creature of the unexpected. So I love having a car that is, you know, very low key, is very unassuming, but when it needs to get out and go and it needs to move quickly and faster, it can move. It has the same engine. It has a bit of, you know, if you have to know about the car to know is to really care about it. To the average eyes, that is just a Jetta.
Yeah.
But I know that it has the sportier engine. I know that it has the Golf R's front brakes. I know that it has the larger wheels and the different options on the interior. And so I like knowing that I have a special vehicle or an upgraded vehicle that's not the average one on the lot.
Exactly.
Whereas the GTI has more of a cult following or a culture about it, to where people know what it is. You know, they have a lot of different options, modifications. You can recognize this one as the Rabbit, or even just the Golf by itself is more recognizable and stands out more than the Jetta in any way. So styling wise, I could definitely give it to the GTI, but matched with my personality, I can appreciate the GLI.
All right, in the 2019 Volkswagen GLI, so just from my initial impressions, they did a good job with this interior. One of the things that I do like about it is, of course, in typical, you know, GLI, GTI fashion, you know, the rich stitching on a lot of the interior elements, the seats. Really loving that. I'm also loving how everything is tilted, you know, towards the driver. So I do like that change with this generation. And then the technology, I mean, it's just a lot of things that's jam-packed into this car. Just for the money, you know, $30,000, you get the digital gauge cluster. I'm really loving this, like, and I'm just gonna play around with it really quick. And I see you get different views. Of course, I don't fully know what I'm doing, but it doesn't matter because you have that option to play around. And I think even here, right? So
You turn it on.
Turn it on. All right. Yeah, but and you see this proximity thing? That's cool. You know how they added that. You know, Volkswagen kind of stepping up a little bit. You know,
Because I remember Cadillac had this for the Q system, but we're not going to talk about Q because that was a mess. This here, loving the cooled seats. The fact that you get cooled seats in this car, I think that's very rare for this classic car. My butt is cool, and that's very refreshing. And the memory seats over here on the left, you have the memory seats now, which is like, I thought that was cool. That's a cool addition. Yeah, really liking the ambiance here. Now, some of the materials, here, there's some cheapness. That's to be expected because Jettas are just constructed to more of a cost. As opposed to the GTIs, they're built in Germany, so it's going to be different standards as far as materials. So, but overall, it gives you what you need. Yeah. So my initial impressions, in typical like Jetta fashion or just GLI fashion, this car is definitely a bit smoother, more quieter because you have it in sport mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the GTI in sport mode, I feel like it has like this sort of growl to it. My impressions so far are that this is definitely like a smoother ride and not as loud as the GTI. The steering, I feel, is a little bit lighter as well because I feel like the GTI, it stiffens up a little bit more. But as far as the power, the power is just there. It's always going to be there. But I don't feel like I'm ready to be, when I drive this car, I don't feel like I'm ready to be a hooligan. I just feel like I have a nice sporty car and I just want to, have an easy Sunday. But I have, a good power and I have, it's like the perfect car. And that's what really attracted me to the GLI in the first place when I bought the 2013. It's like, it's the perfect all-around vehicle. If you want a sedan, it just fits that bill.
All right, so Wally, we just got back from actually taking our test drive. So the question of the day is trade or keep. Would you trade your 2017 in for my 2019 GLI? Are you going to wait for the new GTI to come out? What's your move?
So yes, this is not a simple answer, and I know that everyone's probably looking for a simple answer. But the funny thing about the GTI, I do love my car. I love the usability of the GTI. I love the driving dynamics of the GTI. I just love holistically that it's that Swiss Army sort of type vehicle. And it provides that to me. But, do I want to continue along that route? There's a lot of other vehicles in the competitive set. If I look at, a Kia Stinger, a pre-owned Kia Stinger or something like that, that brings the interesting, dynamics to the equation. Do I want to explore something else or do I want to keep with the same? As far as, when we look at the GLI, I've had a 2013. I love my 2013. It had the 6-speed manual. I love your car. I love the updated features. I love just the increased technology, the increased, refinement of it all because it's brought to current because of that new platform. As well as the engine is now the same as the GTI, so it has that performance. But I'm still like, when I look at the GLI, I love the styling, but the dynamics, it doesn't give me that oomph that the GTI does.
Your car is more visceral. There's a more
I feel like there's a more connectedness to it when you look at the handling and just the raciness of it all. And I would be missing that in the GLI. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't think I would do it.
So you would keep your GTI, in other words?
I would keep it.
Okay.
I would keep it.
I can respect that.
If I'm given the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how about you? What do you think about GTI versus GLI, or even bring into some other cars in the perspective, if you would you still keep your car given the...
So I am very pleased with my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the GLI for just a little over a year now, and it's sitting at almost 20,000 miles. for me, and we spoke about this in the car a little bit, it's the best bang for the buck, right under $30,000. I have the top of the line GLI, the Autobahn trim. So literally any feature that I could really want in a vehicle, I have that. I have the Sportiness. And again, going back to what we discussed in the car, it's the stealth factor. I like being in a vehicle that, it's not going to get caught on the radar all the time. But when you want to go fast, it has the power there. When you just want to kind of chill out on the road, it's nice and comfortable. It has a very spacious interior, even though I'm not a big one. As tall as I am, is my height.
Yeah.
A spacious interior is not on a big checklist for me, but the GLI is very accommodating in that area. The ventilated seats.
You've had a Mini before, so
I had a 2012.
We don't know how you
Cooper.
fit in there at all, but.
And so speaking of that, so I was not going to bring another car into the idea or into just the realm of what would I trade or keep. I still have my heart is on Mini Coopers. Believe it or not, I'm 6'4" tall, and I owned a 2012 Mini Cooper for 3 years, and I would get another. The only reason that I did not get that as a newer vehicle was just the price dynamics. I could get more out of the GLI for the same price of a base Mini Cooper when I was cross-shopping different vehicles last year. So would I keep my GLI? Definitely. It has the large infotainment system. It has the Beats audio system. It has the sunroof. Even though in these, Volkswagens on the MQB platform are a little known for this, it rattles a little bit, but we're going to get that taken care of. But mechanically, top notch, has not given me any issues.
There are no rattles in the GTI,
And we spoke about some of the more posh features in the GTI, even though it has a more visceral driving feel, such as it has felt in the cup holders. The seats are a little more sportier, but my car has the ventilated seats.
You're right.
It still has, believe it or
memory
not,
seats as well.
Memory seats. The other hidden gems, possibly aging myself, but I like the fact that it still has the CD player in it, believe it or not. I think, does the GTI still have a CD player?
Yes, but I really left that in the glove box and I never looked at it again.
So I still have my stack of CDs. So
okay.
As a perk of that, I can bring my CD case along with me occasionally. And
wow, CD case. Wow.
As media, I'm up to date on technology. I know I have Bluetooth. I use my Apple CarPlay. I have Spotify, all of those things. But if I want to, I guess at this point, kick it old school a little bit, I might pop a CD in every now and then along with listening to the radio. I say all of that to say is I would keep my vehicle. The phrase can go, I'll ride it till the wheels fall off. It is a Volkswagen. It is, has German origins. So I don't know if I will be able to ride it until the wheels fall off, but it has not given me any issues. It's mechanically sound. And like I said, I love the fact that I know that I'm driving a vehicle that has a lineage, that has a history. Even though it was kind of the stepchild to the GTI for a long time. Hopefully Volkswagen in this new iterations of the GLI, as the new GTI comes out, they'll continue to allow them to have the same level playing field. Just the distinguishing factors being the GTI being a hatchback and the GLI being the sedan variant of it.
Yeah.
So.
But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the GTI because I don't really think they have any intentions of bringing the value into the equation. When you look at the price gap between a GLI and a GTI, it's pretty extensive. I mean, a Autobahn GTI is about what, 36,000, 37,000, whereas the GLI is 30,000 flat. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes into play, with the new iteration. I don't know if they're going to change things or, dumb it down, so to speak. So
I feel as though, based on what I've seen with the new GTI, just the interior alone, I can't wait for them to hit the showrooms so that I can go and check them out just to see the features. I know that the price points, especially with what Volkswagen has done with the Arteon, the Atlas, the Tiguan, just how they're sharing components across their different vehicles in their line. I don't see them really slowing down price-wise. So I feel like they're going to keep those distinctions for a while.
And then they're going to integrate that fully digital sort of dash thing. I guess similar to what
the digital cockpit,
Mercedes is doing, and Audi is doing.
Almost looks like a large iPad.
Yeah, large. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that is all integrated in the new GTI, and I think the Arteon is going to be bringing that as well for 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So, and yeah, I guess we'll see. So it pretty much looks like I would keep my GTI and you would keep your GLI. So that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this show. Look for future collaborations with Cam 360 and ShiftStar ATL, and as we look into other automotive conundrums that may exist. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting future. So look for more to come, and be sure to check us out on our Instagram handles.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Peace.
All right.